Hello and welcome to Rando Tech Info on my three and a half month-ish update review of the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3. And the reason I'm calling this an update review is because I'm not going to cover everything I did in my review a few months ago, which is actually very comprehensive. Today I'm just going to mostly focus on my new experiences, the things that I've specifically noticed over the last 3 months, because as you would expect, some of the grades I gave this phone from the initial review have changed. However, if you want to go back and watch the original review video, please feel free to do so. I will include a link over my head as well as in the description and in the little moving picture boxes at the end of this video. And while you're at it, if you do go back and do that, or not, feel free to give me a sub to the channel. That actually wasn't that smooth.
Glad you're here to tell us these things.
So when talking about the TicWatch Pro 3, it's hard not to start with the screen. When I reviewed this phone before, I talked about its big and beautiful 1.4 inch screen. Well, it's still big, it's still beautiful, and it's still 1.4 inches. And the dual screen OLED and LCD tech has actually been improved in a recent update, giving you more control with the LCD's backlight. For those of you who are not familiar with the dual screen tech on this watch, the benefit is that the LCD tech allows you to consume way less battery when you're just using the watch, you know, like a watch, because the LCD display consumes so little power. Now personally, I still have not used this LCD display very much. I prefer using the always on display with the OLED, but a lot of people do use this LCD tech, and a lot of them say that they can keep this watch on their wrist for up to a week without having to put it on a charger, which is really impressive. The only real change to the screen that I've noticed is since a recent update, the scrolling has become a little bit smoother and it's a little bit easier to scroll through the apps without accidentally selecting one, which admittedly was kind of a pain before. So the only thing I want to mention about the screen today is before, when I reviewed it, I did deduct a little bit of a grade off of it. Instead of giving it an A, I gave it an A- because it did sustain a little bit of damage the first couple of weeks I had it. I accidentally bumped it against a granite countertop, and it did take just the smallest little nick out of that screen. So I went out to Mobvoi, I got a screen protector, I put it on it. I wound up taking that off because it didn't fit exactly right. It was actually a little bit too small for the screen. It was actually distracting and didn't look that good. So I took it off. I've been using it naked for a while now, and it hasn't sustained any additional damage. So my thought kind of is that the damage it sustained that first week I had it was just kind of a one-off. I don't think that the screen is actually prone to damage. So I'm gonna go ahead and improve the grade on this a little bit. I gave it an A- before. After 3 months, I'm gonna go ahead and bump the grade of the screen on this thing up to an A. Now, the styling of this watch is a little bit controversial. Not everybody likes it. Some people think it's too plain. I actually think it's really versatile. You can wear it to the gym as well as for a night out. And I am pleased to report that the military standard 810G rating and the IP68 rating are both well earned. This watch has sustained no noticeable damage anywhere on it since I've got it, and I still really like the watch band that looks like leather but is actually rubber. And you can tell that it's rubber only because the thing still looks like it did when I got it out of the box. Before, when I graded the style on this watch, I gave it a B, but because, with the exception of that very small nick in the screen, the watch still looks completely like new, I'm actually going to go ahead and upgrade the style grade of this watch to a B+. Performance-wise, this watch is still killing it. Strangely enough, as of today, in February of 2021, it is still the only smartwatch running Wear OS with the 4100 Snapdragon processor. This means its performance is still unrivaled in the Wear OS space. Whether you're making calls, sending a text, using apps, or the Google Assistant, you are going to get a very smooth experience with this watch. If you want all the dirty little details about the performance of this watch, I did do another video about that where I pitted the 4100 level Snapdragon processor against the former 2100 level Snapdragon processor, so feel free to go back and watch that. But the short version is this thing's performance is actually probably a little bit better than when I got it. I feel like it's been optimized through updates. Before, I gave this thing a performance grade of a B. Today I'm going to give it a B+. The UI on this watch is for the most part standard Wear OS. There are some duplicate Mobvoi apps and some bloat to be found here, but fortunately they can all be disabled. The Mobvoi launcher can also be disabled, although I actually prefer it to the standard Wear OS launcher. The speaker and mic both work well when I use the Google Assistant or when I'm dictating a text message. Why did the cow jump over the moon?
According to Modern Farmer, a cow will never physically jump over the moon, and no National Space Agency has any plans to send a one into the void.
I do still wish it had a rotating bezel or crown for easier scrolling. You will still sometimes accidentally select apps when trying to scroll through them, although, as I mentioned before, this issue has gotten a little bit better with the latest update. Overall, not a whole lot has changed with the software and UI of this watch. I gave it a B before. I'm going to give it a B now. So in my initial review of this device, I talked about the sheer number of fitness apps on this device. I also talk about how much overlap there is between the Google Fit apps and the Mobvoi Tick apps. I use the Google Fit apps for my workout and for heart tracking, and I use the Mobvoi apps for the stuff that Google doesn't have, like oxygen saturation, stress testing, and sleep. Overall, it's an imperfect but still nice fitness suite. Yeah, there's better stuff out there, but this will do the job for most. Before, I gave this watch a fitness tracking grade of a B+. Nothing has changed. I'm still giving it a B+. So finally, let's talk about the battery. The battery on this watch is still great. I wear it at night for sleep tracking, so it really only gets charged for a few minutes every morning when I'm in the shower. And that little bit of trickle charge is enough to get me through the week, and I only have to charge it for real on the weekends. And keep in mind, I'm pretty rough on the battery on this thing. Not only do I use it all the time, I don't use the best energy saving feature of this watch. I do not use the LCD display. I use an always on display, and I have the brightness turned up to maximum, and I'm still getting that kind of battery life. Admittedly, the charging experience on this watch could be a little bit better. It's not a particularly fast charger, and the charger itself feels a little bit chintzy. However, it's still an overall good experience. There are some watches out there that are better, but this is close to the best. I gave it an A- before. I'm going to give it an A- now. So after 3.5 months of use, what is my new final grade on this thing? Before, I gave it a B+. Today, I'm going to go ahead and actually upgrade that grade to an A-. There have been some updates that have improved the functionality of this device, and I've just become more and more impressed with it the more that I've used it. Yeah, you're probably going to get a little bit of a smoother experience with an Apple Watch if you have an iPhone. However, fun fact, this can be used with an iPhone, and you can use it with any Android phone. Yeah, Samsung makes great watches if you have a Samsung smartphone, but this can be used with anything, and I think that makes it really special. You can get it without feeling like you're tied to or trapped into any specific ecosystem. Overall, I've been really impressed with it. If you're interested in picking one up, I will leave links in the description to go to both Amazon or Mobvoi's own website to pick it up. It's still running for $299, which that is a bit expensive for a smartwatch, but it's still cheaper than the newest Apple Watches. It's still cheaper than some of the newest options from Samsung, and I do think you're going to be really impressed with it if you pick one up. Well, that's all the useful information I have today about the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3. If you have this watch, or if you have another watch that you think could rival this watch, please let everyone know down in the comments so we can all learn from each other. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Rando Tech Info, signing out.